This is a short demo demonstrating our Enviro Impact tool, which can be used for environmental lifecycle analysis. The Enviro Impact tool was developed as part of a 3-year TSB part-funded project, and the tool forms part of our Impact Compliance Suite, which also includes capital costing and lifecycle costing. The main outcomes of this project was to develop the compliance suite of tools, which includes integration of cost and environmental impacts of buildings, and the development of a tool that's suitable for concept and detailed stage assessment. These tools also integrate with BIM and are used mainly for BRE compliance. The Enviro Impact tool and the other tools in the compliance suite are part of the VE software and are fully integrated into the other VE applications. The main driver for this Enviro Impact tool and the other Impact Compliance Suite tools is to achieve credits under the BRE standard, and it can be used to achieve over 10% of your overall BRE score using Impact, and it can be used for BRE UK New Construction 2011-2014 and also BRE International New Construction 2013 and 2016. Today I'm going to show you briefly how to use the Enviro Impact application using a simple 2-story VE project. You can see the 2-story project that I'm going to use within the virtual environment software by opening the model viewer. And the Enviro Impact module or application itself is contained within the list of applications in the VE under the cost and value heading, and it can be opened by just left clicking Enviro Impact. Today, in order to help me do this demo, I'm going to use our free navigator tool called Impact Lifecycle Analysis, which gives you a full step-by-step guide on how to carry out a lifecycle analysis using the Enviro Impact tool. The first thing I'm going to do is follow all these steps on the navigator, which will show you how to use the Enviro Impact application. Now, the first thing you need in order to do an environmental lifecycle analysis or assessment using our software tool is that you need to have a fully defined model, which I already have in this case. If you don't have a model, you have a number of options. You can build the model using Modelit, or you can import models in the GBXML format either. And like all our applications, the interface will change depending on the application that you're in. And like the other applications, Enviro Impact is no different. And you'll notice the interface change along the bottom here and in the toolbar on the top when you click in Enviro Impact. But the most straightforward way to do Enviro Impact analysis is to just follow the steps on the Impact Lifecycle Analysis navigator. So I'm happy that I already have a geometry model that's suitable, and the navigators also allow you to add in notes if you wish as you go along. And some of the steps will allow you to tick them off as you complete them. And also there is an icon here, a question mark icon, when clicked will open up a web page that will give you additional information on the various different steps. It'll open up IES help documents. So the first step you need to do after you have either created a geometry model or imported a geometry model is to assign a building type. Now this is used just for benchmarking purposes only, but the first sub-step there, it's asking you to select the rooms, which I've done there using my cursor. And then if I click on this step, which will change to a blue color, it'll just open up a new window and it's asking me to assign a building type to the selected rooms. Now in this case I'm going to select office. Now just to note that this particular step is used for benchmarking purposes only, and it's used by the BRE if you submit your project to attain credits under the BRE standard. The next step I'm going to follow here is to set up NIA, and NIA stands for Net Internal Area. In order to do this, you need to turn the inner volumes on, and I've been prompted to do that by the steps in the navigator. And you can see the step there is turning to blue, which indicates that if I click on that step, it's gonna take an action. The next thing to do then is to set up an NIA room group, and this simply means that you need to create a new grouping scheme called NIA. Now I've actually already done this, but it's just a simple case of adding in a new grouping scheme and calling it NIA. I'm just going to put example here in brackets, and then create two new room groups, one called included and one called excluded. Now why this needs to be done is that the software will treat rooms that are included in NIA group different to rooms that are included in the excluded room group name. So once you have created a new room grouping scheme called NIA, you just need to select the rooms that you want and then assign them to the new room grouping scheme. And you can do this by clicking on assign spaces here, this step in the navigator, or you can click on edit room groups icon, which other people might be familiar with, and then you need to click on the assign selected rooms to room groups icon, and then simply select the grouping scheme you want and then choose which room group you want to add the rooms to. Now I've already done that, so there's no need to repeat that step. The next step to take, as prompted in the navigator, is to load subscription BRE LCA data. Now what this means is that you can access a library of impact constructions and materials, and these constructions and materials then need to be assigned to the 3D geometry. So you can access this library of constructions and materials by clicking on the construction step or sub-step here, or you can open up the Apache Construction Database Manager using this icon here in the toolbar. So for now I'm just going to open up the Apache Construction Database Manager, and when I do that I will see a full list of constructions that are already assigned to this particular project. And I can see here that I actually have quite a number of constructions already assigned to this particular project under the various categories such as external walls and windows. And you may notice in this column here there's a data source, and I already have some BRE impact constructions assigned to this particular project. But if you want to assign different construction types to this particular project, you can access these here by clicking View and then Library, Constructions, Impact, and then you have various different construction libraries. So I'm just going to open up the one ending in Commercial Constructions there. And once that opens up, you'll see that I have a large library of constructions, and these constructions can be found under various different construction categories. such as internal partitions or glazing. And if I just focus on external walls, I can scroll through here. There's quite a number of different impact constructions for external walls, and you'll notice that on each of them the data source here is listed as BRE impact. I can also view additional information about this construction type by clicking on Costs and LCA tab here, and this should open up impact relevant data about the constructions. So now I can see not only the thermal data, but I can also see impact related data such as major repairs, different cycles and years, and I can also view the BRE Green Guide rating and the BRE component number here as well. So if I scroll down through all the different constructions for external walls, I can see the Green Guide rating changing there. And the process that you need to follow once you've located a suitable construction is that you need to select the construction first of all and copy the constructions to your particular project. So what I'll do is I'll just select a few different constructions there and copy those constructions to the project. And once you are happy with the constructions that you've copied from the impact library into your particular project, you can then go about assigning those particular constructions that you've copied into your project to the 3D geometry itself. So just to recap there, I have opened the impact library of constructions and materials, and I've copied a impact construction into my particular project. And these impact constructions sourced from the BRE have the relevant environmental life cycle assessment information assigned to them, such as the environmental impact at the various different stages of the building. And these environmental impacts are broken out into 13 different environmental issues. And you'll see when we're looking at the results a bit later what these issues look like and the different types of issues. So now that I have a number of constructions in my particular project, I can go about assigning those particular constructions to my 3D geometry. So what I need to do in order to assign the constructions is I need to actually leave Enviro Impact briefly and go into our Apache application which allows you to assign constructions to 3D geometry. And that's done simply by clicking on the Assign Constructions icon here in the top left. And once I do that, a view of my 3D geometry will appear, and I can select the different construction categories that I want to make changes to. And if we take the external wall, for example, I can see here that I already actually have a BRE impact construction assigned to this particular geometry, which is indicated by the red color. The external walls are changing to red, but I can go about picking a different impact construction and assigning that to this 3D geometry and the external walls. And I do that by just selecting the construction type that I want and then clicking replace. Now it's just a simple case of repeating that for all the different construction categories on your particular project, locating the construction type that you want and replacing it then. And we also have a useful tool in here in Apache that you can input. It's called Input Data Visualization, and that allows you to view the construction types that have been assigned to your 3D geometry. using this tool, we can actually see using this color-coded assignment legend, we can see a description of all the different construction types that have been assigned to our 3D geometry. And we can see in red there, this is actually the BRE impact construction that's been assigned. It's called Fair Face Solid Blockwork Outer Leaf. And now what I have shown you is just a way of assigning predefined BRE impact constructions to your 3D geometry. But I just also like to note that in the impact library itself, we also have a full library of materials that can be accessed as well. So this is done by opening up the construction database manager once more, clicking view library, and then I can open up a library or data set of impact materials. And this allows you to create your own layer by layer construction type using BRE impact material library. So we can view various different material types or material categories under different headings. So if we take the first one there, asphalts and other roofing, we can see that we have a number of different impact material types, each denoted by an impact ID. I'll just look at another one there, take insulation. You can see that we have various different insulation types in the impact material library. And these materials can be copied to your particular project by right-clicking the material type and clicking copy material to project. And then when you go to create your own new construction in the construction database manager, you can do that, but I've just added in a new construction there. Now if I double click that, I will have an option of using project materials, and I can look at impact materials only. And if I take insulation there, you'll see I now have a new insulation material type denoted with the impact ID, and I can copy that material and I can begin to build up a impact material construction layer by layer. So I'm just going to cancel that there. So that's just a quick run through of how you actually import constructions, impact constructions into your particular project, and a brief run through how you can create your own bespoke construction using the materials library that's available. And then you need to go about assigning those materials to your particular 3D geometry. So once those steps are done, there's a couple of more additional steps you need to follow before you can start viewing the results. The EnviroImpact tool allows you to consider results from our dynamic simulations in Apache. This means that you can consider the environmental impact of operational energy use in the EnviroImpact tool. So I'm not going to consider that in today's demo, but just to note that if you don't want to run a dynamic simulation to calculate the operational energy use, and as a consequence the environmental impact of that energy use, you can add in manually a figure for operational energy use a bit later on. So the final few steps then before I actually can view the environmental life cycle analysis results is to just set a few project settings. The navigator here will prompt you to do that. But before you can set those settings up, you need to first import a BRE LCA template. Now what this does is it simply tells the software what to do with the 3D or the quantities of materials that the software takes from the 3D geometry. For example, the volume of the external walls or the volume of the floors and the materials contained within those constructions. So in order to import the BRE LCA template, you just need to click on this step here. And once you've clicked on that step, this new window LCA templates will open, and it's just a necessary step that you need to follow, and you just click OK there, and it'll allow you to bring in a new LCA template into your project. So I've actually already done that there, so I'm just going to click no to that. So you can see now that I have a new BRE LCA template in my particular project, and what this does is it opens up this new little interface down here that allows you to view particular information about your project. So before I view the final results, I'm going to finally set up the project settings for this particular project. And when I click project settings on the navigator, a new tab will open up automatically on the bottom here, and there's just a few settings that you need to set up here. One of them being the study period. So you have the capability to change that study period, but by definition, if you're using impact material specifications, you need to leave that at 60 years. Another setting that you can set up is the functional unit, and simply put, a functional unit is just a unit that will be divided into the results later on when they're viewing them. So we'll see later on that the results are mainly described as either eco points or embodied carbon, and a functional unit will be divided into those results. You may be familiar with something like kilowatt hours per meter squared. So by dividing a functional unit such as NIA, which is an area, or GIFA, gross internal floor area, which is also an area, you will see the results of eco points and embodied carbon being described in terms of a functional unit. So for example, eco points per meter squared NIA. Lastly, two final settings here is the project level impacts and also non-thermal constructions. Now, non-thermal constructions allow you to set up a particular construction or volume of material that is not already captured in the 3D geometry. Now, an example of this would be landscaping outside, or perhaps some structural concrete beams or columns that may be within the building that you want to consider within the scope of your environmental life cycle analysis. So I'm happy now with those settings that I've set up. And finally, what I'm going to do is I'm going to view the results now for this environmental life cycle analysis. And just to note that the necessary calculations that the software is doing is really just happening in the background, so there's no need to click on a button to run the simulation. The calculations are simply happening in the background now. And what the software has done, it has taken the quantities of materials from the 3D geometry and multiplied those quantities by various factors contained within the data set used that allows you to show the environmental impact of your particular building described in terms of either eco points or embodied carbon. So the first way of viewing the results that have been calculated in the background is this small interface here will be shown on the bottom, which allows you to look at the eco points and the embodied carbon in kilograms of CO2 for the various different construction categories or structures within your particular building. For example, the superstructure or the substructure. And you can view the eco point total and the embodied carbon total for those various different categories. And you can also view them according to the various different stages of your building, such as production of materials, construction, in use, etc. Now, a better way of actually viewing those results is by viewing them either graphically in a chart or in a large table. But just before I do that, I'm just going to show you that something I mentioned earlier about the operational energy use. If you don't run a dynamic simulation, you have the ability to enter in manually the total operational energy use on an annual basis in here by just typing in a figure, for example 250 kilowatt hours, which is on the small side. And you can also enter in a rate for water consumption here as well, which the environmental impact of that will be considered also. So now I'm just going to view the results. Firstly, I'm going to view them graphically, and I can do that by clicking on this icon here, view charts. And now I can view the environmental impact or the BRE eco points per life stage per issue. So what this is shown is the eco point total for each different life stage of the building. And I can see the legend here, the different colors representing the different environmental issues or environmental impact of your building. And by viewing those colors at the different stages, you can view the total eco points or the total environmental impact of your building at the different stages. So we can see production stage is quite large there, and also operational water use is quite high as well. The operational energy use is quite low there, as would be expected with those low energy figures I entered. But if I go and change those, perhaps I'll add in 250,000 might be a more suitable figure for a building of this size. If I manually enter in those figures there, and now I go to view my results again, I'll actually see that the operational energy use or the environmental impact of the operational energy use is very, very large in comparison to the material. So perhaps the figures I entered in there are probably a bit unrealistic. I'll just adjust them by a factor of 10 there. Now I'll go back in and just view those results again. So that probably looks a bit more realistic in terms of the environmental impact of operational energy use for that life stage. I can also view the results, just can flip them, and I can look at the eco points of global warming, each environmental issue. I'm looking at the results now in eco points in terms of per issue per life stage. And lastly, I can view also the embodied carbon of the building at the different life stages. So I can see operational energy use has a value of around 1 million kilograms of CO2 equivalent. I mentioned earlier you can also view the results in a tabular form, and I can look at the environmental impact in terms of eco points or embodied carbon as well at each of the different categories of your building. So now I can look at each construction type and the various different elements that make that up, And for example, external walls, I can look at the eco points at each of the life stages. The eco points again representing the environmental impact of that particular element. And I can also look at each of the environmental issues separately and what their environmental impact is. So for example, I can look at global warming potential, human toxicity, nuclear waste, etc. of different construction elements for my building. So that's it for this short demo today of Enviro Impact, which allows you to calculate the environmental impact of your particular building in terms of eco points and embodied carbon. So just to recap, you can access Enviro Impact from our list of VE applications under the cost and value heading, and it's recommended that you use our navigator to guide you through the process for carrying out an environmental life cycle analysis. Okay, thanks.